Good morning. Here we are, day 26. At this stage, I'm assuming either you've spent 3 years really making sure a child's in a good state from 4 through to 7, and this is the point you're going to have a really good check, or you've got a child who's 7 and you want to have a check to work out where you're at. We don't check this development in Britain, and we need to. And my perception is there is no money or commitment politically to good child development. So what I'm suggesting is quite a quick, cheap, dirty way of checking, but with some backups and some education. So on we go. You are screening the child at 7 to make sure that all the development you would expect to be in place in terms of motor skills, sound, vision is getting there. That they are coming together as an efficient learner, and there are no strange overflow gestures. There's no tongue sticking out, there's no jaw movement, there's no excessive blinking, that there's no strange turning to one side or the other, that the child can work equally with both sides of the body. The child can go over the midline, the child can use tools. You're really interested in how efficiently that person works. It's a good time to stop and to proactively take action on a timely basis to support good child development. It's a coming together of all stakeholders to plan how to address any issues and not waiting for things to become a crisis. I have seen so many teenagers with mental health problems that had we stopped at 7, taken a year to sort them out, they would have been sorted. But because we have left them with poor development, they get more and more and more and more anxious. We then drop them in a great big secondary school and they go into complete close down. We have got to be proactive. It is much cheaper for everyone. I would suggest you also being proactive would stop a lot of antisocial behaviour, would stop a lot of criminal behaviour, because we're including people in society. We're not pushing them out all the time. We're not excluding everybody and making them angry and isolated. It's really important. So, the screening. Eventually, you should be able to get this down to 15 to 20 minutes. It is really quick and it is really dirty. You are literally doing it like a production line. And so you're going to quickly check. Head can move separately to body without any movement of the arms. You're going to quickly check that a person can do angels in the snow and they can move with opposite limbs without any overflow. I would just do angels in the snow, wouldn't do a formal neuro check. Get them to do jumping jacks, and you're looking for top and bottom working together rhythmically. Should be beautiful. You are going to do a proper check for spinal gland. They're going to be down on all fours. You're going to run a thumb down one side of the back, run a thumb down the other side. There should be no wriggle. Up they get. They're going to skip forwards and skip backwards, no hesitation. And you're going to go skip forwards, skip backwards, skip forwards. And they should be able to automatically change forwards and backwards, and the opposite arm and leg should be working beautifully together. And you're looking for, that swing from the top, from the shoulder. It's not a strange body movement. If you're not sure, I would also add in the Superman crawling. They've got to get down on all fours, put up opposite arm and leg. They should look absolutely straight. There should be no wobble. The feet should be flat on the floor and everything should look good. Well, one foot should be flat on the floor, but they should be really beautiful and straight. Finish that, move on. You ask them to stand for 30 seconds on one leg. You want them to stand there with no wobble. And that is telling you about core strength, telling you about balance. If we're talking about balance, we're on the inner ear. We're thinking about vestibular integration. Okay, we've passed our 30 seconds. We're going to get them to clap to a metronome to 54 beats a minute. Can they do that? Can they follow a beat? Can we stop the metronome? Can they keep going? We're then going to ask them to do a few things. Can they just put the beanbag behind the door, the cup on the table, and the pencil, can they just put it under the chair? Anything. Just 3 completely disassociated things. You just want to check they can follow basic oral constructions. You're going to have a look at their eye movements, get out your expensive pencil and have a look. Can they converge their eyes? Can they diverge? Are their eyes moving in and out smoothly? Can they do a figure of 8 and follow that figure of 8 in both directions without any jump at the midline? If that looks good, you're happy. It's not perfect, this is just checking there's nothing big and obvious. You're then going to get a sheet of A4 paper, sit them down at a table, and you're interested. How are they sitting? Are they sitting properly? Or are we all down like this? And you're not going to prompt them. You are just giving them a chair to sit on. You are giving them a table at the right height. You are asking them to pick up a pencil. And you're then going to say to them, can you draw a line? You're not acting. Can you draw a line across the page for me? And they have to choose what they're going to do. Are they going to go across the page, which is what you hope, or are we going to get it going down the page, which is no midline crossing? Are they going to rotate the piece of paper round and then go down? You'll be amazed what people do to avoid midline crossing. You're then going to ask them to do the same job using a ruler. So you're able to see how are they working with tools, left and right, going across the midline. That task is sorted. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to do a Tansley test. You're going to flash cards at them and you're going to count to 5, put the card down, they then have to draw the shape. And we'll look at the Tansley test in a bit more detail. While they're doing that, you're looking at their pencil grip, you're looking at their posture, you're looking at the midline crossing and so on. So it's a very exhausting 15 minutes for you. But that will tell you as much as you need to know about whether a child is fit and ready at 7 to start formal education. It's a big job. It's very intense screening children like that. It's very tiring, and you need to be aware that the people who are doing the screening are genuinely going to be quite tired. So, if possible, film it, because if they lose concentration, it's really nice to go back and check what is it we've seen. It's also useful to go back and look at it with mum or anybody that can't be present. And you might find just a film clip actually plus your check sheet gives you all the reporting you need, because we don't want to turn this into an administrative nightmare. Have a check sheet. So you've got all those things you're looking for. You need a check sheet and you need a scoring system and a shorthand. And literally it's kind of, no, it's not there, yes, it's there, and something in the middle. Have a dedicated room so that you don't constantly get interrupted, because once you're doing this, it is incredibly intense, takes a lot of concentration. If somebody interrupts you in the middle, it's quite annoying because you might have missed quite an important little bit. And practice on a sample first, you know, and iron out the problems. The first child, I bet you, takes you an hour. The second child, you might get down to 45 minutes, and you're thinking, how are we going to do this in 15 minutes? But you get your eye in, you get to see what you're looking for. Maybe you practice on the staff first, and that is also very good. You practice on friends and family if you're doing it as a community. You get yourself to the state where you really understand how to do this. The Tansley test, and this is taken from Sally Blythe's book on how to get children to a good state. So the Tansley test is just a series of shapes. And research in behavioural optometry knows that when your vision comes in and your bilateral integration of motor skills comes in, you can see different shapes and perceive them and repeat them typically at different ages, so that the diamond, those vertices, are something you can't really understand properly until 7. So you might have all sorts of coping strategies, but by and large, it's a very good indication that a child's reached good bilateral integration. The Union Jack is also problematic because the person's got to go across, and you start seeing there are problems. With the other shapes, when you're dealing with older children, what you're looking for is symmetry, you're looking for accuracy, and you'd be surprised what this throws up. It is a very, very good indicator of has left and right come together? Have we got the vision coming together? Does the child have a good perception of the world about them? Have they got the skills in place to start doing maths properly? So we look at an example in detail, and this is not a small child, this is a teenager. And you can see the first thing we hit is we didn't draw the line across the page, we went down. And the same when we came to use a ruler. So we know within seconds we do not have midline crossing. We know we've got a primitive reflex problem. We know we have to go right back. And if you're 7+, it's going to take us a year to sort this out at least. We can see with the Union Jack that the midline crossing continues to be a problem. They have no idea where the middle is really. It's to draw a big dot and go in and out to it. We can also see that though getting to that dot doesn't join. So we've got problems that I would imagine our vision is flickering to the point that we don't understand how to connect points, that we're not sure if something is touching. That's really telling you the focus is not very good and the eyes aren't working together. When we look at the diamonds, we can see we haven't got symmetry. One eye is not working as well as the other eye. Our sense of things isn't going well together. And we've got a cross there, which is showing you we haven't got the symmetry. We're not coming together accurately. And you want to see good, accurate, neat drawings. And it's not in place. And it seems like something that's so simple, but actually it's telling you a lot about the physiology of the person. It is a really important test. So if there are problems, I would say you need to get the child properly screened. You really do need to look at their sound processing. You need to look at how their two eyes work together. You need to think about diet, sleep, trauma, and other factors that might be blocking progress. All children should, by 7, be in a good state here. And of course, they're not. And what would be useful is collecting data on just the scale of the problems and as nationally working to stop those problems over time and getting it down. I am certain there are estates in Britain where I would go and 100% of the children would have problems, particularly in deprived poor areas. And even in estates where it's normal middle class, everything, you know, people have got what you'd expect them to have, I would expect us to be seeing 70 to 90% of children at the moment having problems. If you're a school, I cannot emphasize enough, it's really worth your while screening a few children every year as part of teacher training in depth. Really just taking across the ability range. So you're choosing what you think are your really bright and sharp kids, and maybe, you know, 5 children taken across the ability range, your top and bottom and 3 in between, and then screening them in depth and understanding how those children are seeing, how their sound processing, how their motor skills are working, how that relates to them doing cognitive tasks. You will understand so much more about your students and what you need to do to support them to be better learners. And if you're interested in that sort of thing, what I suggest you do is work with us for 12 to 36 months. You do all the work, obviously. I just pop in to screen children and to teach you how to get on and train up yourselves so that you can be empowered. Here is our client. And so you can see down there the Tansley test, but what you're also seeing is his vision. And you can see the two eyes do not work together. So midline crossing starts making sense. You can see the sound processing doesn't work, and that will disrupt the eye movements. So in other tests where we're using language, you can understand why there's going to be problems. You can see he doesn't have very good pitch differentiation, and that will make it difficult for him to make sense of language. All of these little things disrupt learning, and they are all correctable. You can really change someone's life chances. But if we don't look, we don't check, we don't support, the person gets written off and shunted along. When I'm screening, I don't just look at the motor skills, the sound, the vision. I also look at a series of tasks. And, you know, it's obvious I look at 12-piece jigsaw puzzles. This is another youngster, but very similar. You can see left and right hand are doing different tasks. They do not go across the midline. They work separately on left and right. This character can make half the puzzle on one side, but the other side is a bit of a mystery. And I've drawn the line where his midline is, so you can understand just how much lack of midline crossing is causing problems with comprehension. That is an entirely correctable problem. So please, we need to really properly screen children, really properly understand how children develop to learn and support that process, and understand what blocks that process and help children around it. Thank you for listening. I will see you tomorrow, I expect. Goodbye.